Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Jazakumullah khair for joining us on this second reflection from the Quran on the second juz, the second part of the Quran, where I will be reflecting alongside many of my other colleagues from Cage on verses from the Quran. And I'm looking at the tafsir, the commentary on the Quran by Sayyid Qutb, who wrote this while he was in prison. And so the second juz begins with the concept or the discussion about the Qibla, and it's very important because the Muslims in the early days, in the first part of Islam, were actually worshipping towards Jerusalem. And this verse and the verses that follow within the second juz talk all about فَوَلِّهِ وَجَهَكَ شَطْرَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ, that turn your faces towards the direction of Masjid al-Haram, which of course is in Mecca. And when the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came to change the Qibla for the Muslims from Jerusalem to Mecca. So even though Jerusalem is Al-Quds is our first Qibla, our Qibla since that point became and continues to be towards the Kaaba in Mecca al-Mukarramah. But the verse that I wanted to focus on straight after this was when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the middle path. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَيَكُونُ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. And like this, we made you the nation of the middle path, so that you are a witness upon mankind, and that the Prophet is a witness on you. Now, Sayyid Qutb says about this in particular, and I first read this part of the tafsir when I was a prisoner myself in Belmarsh in 2014, and these particular words I found very poignant because it spoke to the vision of the man and how he saw how he saw Islam. He says the Muslim community is a balanced one in the sense that it is not rigid or dogmatic. It holds fast to its ideals and traditions and to the sources of its religion and the way of life, while fostering change and progress in all fields. It is an open society that welcomes new ideas and learns from the work and experience of other societies, other cultures and civilizations. Its main objective is to seek the truth wherever that may come from and to adopt it with courage and confidence. Now this is important because nobody would think that these are the words of Sayyid Qutb, who has been described by many Orientalists and Islamophobes as the godfather of terrorism and so forth. But he continues and he says that Islam, the Muslim community, it is neither permissive or and undisciplined, nor is it regimented and run by brute force or rigid rules. It is something in the middle. It is the nation of the middle path. And he continues to say that importantly, that Islam ensures that individual rights and liberties are guaranteed and protected in order to encourage innovation, production and growth in a manner that will serve the common good. And these again are the words of Sayyid Qutb reflecting on this verse in the Quran. However, it is important that he says, and he continues with this, says he asks the question, what stops Muslims today from assuming the position and role in the world that Allah has assigned them? And in fact, it is because they have abandoned their faith in its true pristine meaning. And so he says, as a result of us following all of these various ideologies that existed in the world, whether it's communism or capitalism or any of the other methods of governance and living, these have led to our ultimate demise. And then he says, which is something very poignant and very relevant for us now, for the Muslim community to legitimately earn that position again that it had, that was exalted historically in the past, it must undergo severe trials and make great sacrifices in order to prove its loyalty and dedication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who we claim to follow. So that's the first of these, the first of the four verses that I wanted to look at. The second is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا تَقُلْ لِمَنْ يُقْتَلْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٍ بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ. Do not consider those who are killed in the way of Allah as dead, but in fact they are alive, but you cannot perceive it. Now, this verse, of course, as we know, particularly in time of coronavirus, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever remains in a place where there is a plague or something similar to it, and remains there and dies, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them the reward that's equivalent to a martyr, equivalent to a shaheed. It doesn't mean that they are the same as martyrs who died protecting Islam, but they have the same reward as the martyr. And this verse says, do not consider them as dead. They are alive, but you perceive it not. And then the next verse continues, and from this we get something that most of us know. When something happens, when somebody passes away, what do we say? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That when somebody dies, we customarily say, from Allah we came and to Him shall we return. But the verse contextualizes what that means. Because after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not consider those people killed in the way of Allah as dead, they are alive but you perceive it not. He says, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ